The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now, from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here are your hosts of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard and Taylor Welch.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for December 14th, 2025. This is season 15, episode number 28, and episode number 542 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. Hello, everyone. I am Bob Howard. She is
Taylor Welch.
And I hope you all are going out and doing some Christmas shopping, because if not, you've only got 11 days away before Christmas is here, and you're going to be stuck, getting stuff at the convenience store on Christmas Eve, and there's never anything good at the convenience store on Christmas Eve. Trust me on that one. Taylor, I heard you might have done a little bit of shopping today.
Yeah, I kind of space my shopping out. I do a little bit here and there, pretty much throughout the whole year. I just kind of randomly pick up stuff. Jeremy, on the other hand, he really likes to wait until like the 22nd, the 23rd before doing anything. Drives me absolutely up the walls.
I used to be like that too. My wife also shops throughout the year. She finds certain things. She's always thinking about certain gifts and what she wants to get for people, and then she goes and shops for them. Whereas I used to not be that way. Now I'm checking lists and I'm buying off those lists sooner. Like the last couple weeks of November and then on. So not as, throughout the year like you and my wife, but certainly a lot sooner than I used to. Taylor, what an interesting weekend for the Black Bears. Let's do a little high over review. The Black Bears win in Danbury 3-2 in the shootout. Then on Teddy Bear Toss Night, another 4-goal performance by a Black Bear. We have a hat trick associated with the Teddy Bear Toss goal. Last year, it was Cam Clark who got the Teddy Bear Toss thrown and then scored a hat trick. This time, it was Nick Swain, somebody that has been a little bit quiet this season, but really kind of blew up in a very, very cool way, for sure. Your thoughts on the weekend?
It was, the first game there in Danbury was, kind of kept you on the edge of your seat for pretty much the whole game, right up until the shootout. And then I feel like I take a breath when it comes to the shootout, just because, Connor McNamara has been so stellar for shootouts.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not really, if we get to a shootout, I tend to relax a little bit more. Overtime, I'm still a little bit tense, but shootouts, I breathe, and I'm like, if we can just, if one of our guys can find the back of the net, we should be all right. At Saturday, weirdly enough, I'm going to kind of call you out a little bit. I think my favorite part was getting you to try sour candy, because you picked on me about it and you actually liked it.
Well, I do like Sour Patch Kids. I usually don't touch any other kind of sour candy. I don't like usually the taste of the limes, and like when they had the green Skittles, whatever, when they changed it to the whatever it was disgusting. It was gross. But you did have sweet and sour gummy bears, right? I think it was sweet and sour, right?
Yeah.
And I actually kind of liked them. They were okay. I didn't spit them out, and I actually enjoyed them. So that was a good thing. That was your highlight. That was literally your highlight from Saturday's game. I
mean, before the game started, absolutely. And then, we had a stellar performance on the ice, so it was a win-win no matter what for me.
I think, 10 wins now in a row. They've got 55 points. I think Port Huron is now on a 6-game losing streak. They lost both games to the Indiana Sentinels. And I got to be honest with you, I had Everett Thompson here on the show when they were here in Binghamton, and he talked about the progression of that team. And for them to take 2 games against Port Huron was great for the Black Bears, right? Obviously, if we're winning and the Port Huron Prowlers are losing, that's great for the Black Bears. I think there's like a 22-point difference now between first place and second place in the Empire Division. But it's also really great to see a team like Indiana, who had a rough start to the year, And then about 4 weeks in, you bring in Everett Thompson, and he's made a very exceptional improvement to this team. And now they've won, 3 in a row?
Yeah, looking at the standings, it's kind of crazy to think that we have a decent lead. And, teams 2 through 6, there's a 9-point difference between all of them. So
Right.
it's pretty close for all of them. And I think, Indiana, I feel like is going to start sneaking their way up through. And I feel like they could get, quite high up in the standings. It seems like whatever Everett is doing is really working.
Yeah.
And it's weird to say that you hope the success for somebody else in your division, but I truly do hope that they find success and they, can climb the ladder a little bit, maybe make the playoffs more interesting, and we wouldn't have to face, Danbury and Watertown yet again.
Yeah, that would be kind of nice. And listen, I think by the end of January, right? By the end of January, 8, 9, maybe 10 games by the time they get to the end of January, and maybe they have 30 games played. And if they can go, win 6 out of 10 of those games, or maybe even 7 out of those 10 of those games, some against Danbury, some against Watertown, maybe Topeka again, because they've beaten Topeka. They've now beaten Port Huron a couple times. I would be very interesting. Listen, the only 2 teams right now in the Empire Division that have a winning streak, a streak of 2 wins or more, are the Black Bears with 10 and the Indiana Sentinels with 3. And they're 1st and 7th place in this division, which is hilarious.
It really is to think about it that way. It's so interesting to look at how the numbers change so much. And I think, we there's only 2 teams that have a positive goal differential too.
I know, that's crazy.
We've got a plus 56 and Topeka has a plus 10. Everybody else is a negative.
Yeah, it's just insane how you can look at numbers and it kind of blows your mind, and it's amazing. Now, also yesterday, I do want to bring up, and we do have a very special guest on this week's on this Sunday wrap up show that we do for the weekend, and that's Devin Dobek, and he is the broadcaster for the Biloxi Breakers. And if you know anything about this weekend, the Breakers did not have a good weekend against the Monroe Moccasins, and there was some craziness. But I do want to say that I'm very happy for Nolan Egbert. Eggy had another great game, only gave up 1 goal to Biloxi on Saturday night, and also almost got in a fight. Now, Eggy, if you're listening to this, I'm going to call your ass out on something. You never did anything cool like that when you were here in Binghamton, but then you get down there to Monroe, and all of a sudden you go gangbusters. You go like mafia style on a guy. I love it. It was great. It was good to see, but I got to call him out a little bit on that. He didn't do that here in Binghamton at all.
What's really funny is Jeremy said the same exact thing last night. And he was like, he didn't do anything like that in Binghamton. And my response back to him was, he didn't have to.
It's true.
Because, stuff like that just doesn't happen in Binghamton.
No, you're 100% right. He did not have to do that at all here in Binghamton. But obviously, the situation was crazy. Go watch the YouTube video if you want to. But as everybody knows, I love Eggy to death. It was great. I got to see a little bit of the highlight, and then I watched a little bit of stuff later on. And he was chirping guys as they were going off the ice too from Biloxi. So it was really funny. I don't care what's going on between Monroe and Biloxi and what's going on there. It was just fun. It was good to see Eggy. He's now got 2 wins in 2 starts for the Monroe Moccasins. They just traded away one of the other goaltender that they had there. So maybe Eggy becomes the number 1 goaltender in Monroe. I think that would be pretty awesome. I think it's something that he would really excel in. And you know who would be the most proud of him for that? Brant Sherwood. I truly believe that.
Well, in all of the fans, honestly, it's just the amount of love that the fans have for players when they move on is insane. Like they constantly keeping track and keeping records of who's doing what and how things are going. So it's awesome to see that. And, the love that these guys have for everybody is it's so phenomenal.
I agree. All right. The Power Play Post is available on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on your favorite app, and don't forget to subscribe. Join the conversation on Facebook. Search for the Power Play Post Show and become part of our community. You will get to read the Impact Players Report, which is awesome, 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 awesome. I know the person really well who writes that, which is pretty cool. Looking for everything Binghamton Hockey, visit binghamtonhockey.net, your go-to source for stats, history, and all things Binghamton Hockey. Coming up on this episode of the Power Play Post Show, Biloxi Breakers broadcaster Devin Dobek, and apparently I've lost the ability to talk.
Well, I mean, saying Biloxi Breakers broadcaster, say that 5 times fast, and then we'll see.
I'm not going to. I'm just not going to do that. But it was great to talk to Devin. I talked to him last year while he was with the Dashers, completely different organization now, being there in Biloxi, especially with Charlie Pence Jr. and everybody there, which is pretty cool. All right. So, Taylor, let's get into Friday night's game down in Danbury.
All right. Black Bears win a close, tight game and shootout down in Danbury, 3-2. December 12th, 2025, Danbury Ice Arena, Game 20 of the season, Binghamton Black Bears at Danbury Hat Tricks. First period, starting this game off with the Black Bears on a power play, the Hat Tricks score their first shorthanded goal from Noah Robinson. Then just 52 seconds later, the Hat Tricks take a 2-0 lead with a goal from Austin Belfoy, 10:25 into the first period. The Black Bears captain, Tyson Kirkby, scored his 4th goal of the season with 7:38 left to go in the period, making this a 2-1 game.
Now, I will admit, I will say this because I'd rather do it before Taylor calls me out. We were having a conversation. Obviously, this is an away game. You did not go down to this game. I was obviously here at Box Studios working on my notes and just watching the game. And I was like, after they took the 2-0 lead over the Black Bears, I was like, I was like, and I think I even typed to you, right? Because I was just like, we go down in there. We're on a 8-game winning streak. And I was just like, this is quick. This was too fast for them to score on the Black Bears. But this is also the 3rd time now in 4 games that the Hat Tricks had gone up by 2 goals on the Black Bears. But there was some concern there. And then it kind of started to fade away when Tyson scored that first goal. But I'm going to say it. I was like, oh, crap, here we go. Because eventually at some point we're going to go down by 2 goals to a team in this league, and we're not going to be able to come back. Now, of course, we did in this case.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the 52 seconds later is kind of what
shocked
you
us.
And I were both kind of like, ooh, because it's not something that happens, especially, to us.
Yeah.
It might happen for us, we might,
Yes.
As we'll talk about probably the next game, who knows, maybe.
Is that foreshadowing? Are you saying stay tuned?
Absolutely. You always got to stay tuned. So yeah, it was definitely just 2 quick goals that kind of made you uneasy.
Uh-huh.
But, it wouldn't surprise me if, another team comes in and gets 2 goals up on us, and it could be 2-0, 4-2, whatever it might be. But this team seems to figure out a way to get back into it.
Yeah. And in this case, it was Tyson Kirkby, who's been in this situation before down in Danbury. He's been with this team for 5 years now. He's seen pretty much everything you could see when it comes to the Danbury Hat Tricks and the Binghamton Black Bears rivalry over the years. And so it's no surprise to me that as we talk more about this game, that Tyson Kirkby, and it's so amazing too, because Tyson was an impact player both of these games for different reasons, Taylor. I think that's really something that you can't just look at numbers and say, oh, okay, Tyson's the leader of franchise for goals and assists and power play goals and points and all that stuff, and go, okay, that's why he's the best. Because when you pointed out in the second game, and we'll talk about that, he did something that has nothing to do with him getting points or on the scoreboard for anything that mattered probably just as much as anything he did the whole weekend.
Yeah, that's the I guess like the pinpoint of him being the captain of this team is that he has the ability to literally take the team on his shoulder and get the goals when it's needed, or, vice versa, not get the points, but make it so the other teammates are able to.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, it's been absolutely crucial, and he's been able to provide that all the time.
Yeah, for 5 years now. All right, scratches. Wyatt Freelander, Austin Thompson, who's out with an upper body concern, according to Brooks Hill's commentary. Cam Cervone and Jacob Shankar, who is on the IR. Starters for this game was Ivan Bondarenko, Tyson Kirkby, CJ Stubbs, Austin D'Orazio, Dan Stone, and Connor McAnanima. The hat tricks did start Sebastian Rosar in the friendly confines of the Danbury Ice Arena. Stefan won his first face-off in his first game back on his first shift and sent it back to Lathlands, whose slap shot broke his stick, but Steph got the win on the faceoff on his first shift, which was pretty cool. Khaden Henry committed the game's first penalty as he hooked CJ Stubbs. Black Bears' first penalty was shortly after the Kandekra penalty. D-Raz was tagged with interference in the offensive zone, which was a kind of a bad penalty to take. When you're in the offensive zone, last thing you want to do is be called for like interference or hooking or something like that. That means you're behind on the play, and that's never good. The shorthanded goal was only the second shorty the Black Bears have given up this season, and it was a turnover that the Black Bears committed in the offensive zone. That was the shorthanded goal was in Athens, or against Athens on November 14th. Tyson scored exactly how you would expect. Rosar was stretching from east to west, couldn't control the rebound and score, and he scored to get the Black Bears started with 2:15 to go, left to go in the period. Legoff gets awarded with a penalty shot after coming in along with Dan Stone behind him and hooking him. Listen, Dan Stone made the right call there to doing what he did. On the penalty shot, he comes in and tries to go 5-hole, and C-Mac made the save. To me, this was one of the first big parts of the game where the Black Bears started making really smart defensive plays, because I know he gets called for the hooking, and the penalty shot is awarded to Legoff, but he was pretty confident when he made that hook to stop Legoff that Legoff probably had an excellent chance of scoring on C-Mac. And so he wanted to give C-Mac the best chance possible, either with a 2-minute penalty kill or taking him one-on-one where C-Mac could set up properly. And I think Dan Stone made a great decision here. I know it sounds weird to say that.
No, I definitely agree with you 100%. I would take that penalty all day long, because Legoff, he leads Danbury, as I'm pretty sure, in as far as points. So if he's coming in and you think he has a decent chance at scoring, I would definitely take the penalty. He was awarded, the penalty shot, which isn't the greatest, but it also, if you know it's coming, you can kind of better prepare yourself, and that's exactly what C-Mac did, and he shut him down.
Well, he's already been so good in shootouts, right? In his career. I mean, for the past 2.5 years, I don't remember him losing a shootout. I'm going to have to go back and check the records. I'm sure he has, but the ones that I remember specifically, he doesn't miss you with shootouts. So a penalty shot is very much just basically a shootout attempt, and C-Mac is obviously very good at that, and that's kind of foreshadowing for the end of this game. The Black Bears have allowed a couple of odd man rushes. They need to find a way to stop those, which they did start to nip those in the bud a little bit later on in the game. Even though Austin D'Orazio took an interference call and Dan Stone hooked Legoff, the Black Bears did not have to defend the penalty kill in the first period. I would say that the Black Bears dominated a good portion of the period, but made mistakes, and Danbury cashed in on those. Would you agree with that? I think that first period, the two goals that the hat-tricks got, it was more about the mistakes that the Black Bears made and not necessarily anything else.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That just it's pretty hard to get close, and but the hat tricks have kind of struggled to get shots on goal against us normally.
Mm-hmm.
So you really only see them getting shots on goal if there's a breakaway, or they can get into the zone faster than we can.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely agree that it was more of a mistake on our end than them actually getting to dominate part of the game.
All right, power play opportunities. Binghamton 0 for 3, Danbury 0 for 0. Shots on goal, Binghamton 19, Danbury 7. Let's go into the second period.
A lot happened during the second period. Neither team scored in the middle period, though the Black Bears outshot the Hat Tricks 17-3.
Yeah, that's a pretty big number right there. The Black Bears did start the period on the power play, got some pressure, but did not score. Gavin Yates has hit the post twice so far in the game, once in the first period and once on a carryover power play to start the second period. Ivan Bondarenko had a breakaway chance taken away as Tukney hooked him down to the ice, giving the Black Bears their fifth power play opportunity. The Hat Tricks forwards, they dressed 11 tonight on Friday night, and only 5 defensemen, is working at times as they are catching the Black Bears behind in the play. 3 infractions so far have created from the skill on the forwards, by the forwards. The Black Bears need to find a way to break past Rassard. They have beaten him before, but they are allowing him to gain confidence in the game, and that is not good. On the penalty kill, Kirkby had a shorthanded chance. They needed one more of those moments to go their way. To end the second period, the Black Bears were on the power play. It will carry over, and the Black Bears will need to find a way to get a couple more past Rassard. Rassard has had to make some big saves, and he has. The Black Bears are peppering him with shots, but not breaking through other than the Kirkby goal in the first period. Your thoughts a little bit on, because we talked about this a lot last week about Rassard. Can they get into his head? Can they mentally break him a little bit? And I don't think they did that on Friday night.
I don't think they honestly did it either game. I know, Saturday they got more goals on him.
Yeah.
But you did not see him mentally breaking down than we have in previous games.
Yeah.
And Friday night, he did an excellent job keeping his composure and having that mental fortitude that we have talked about him lacking.
Yep.
I was honestly going to have to come on the show and apologize for saying that he didn't have it. Because he definitely, either he did something in the past week, or, there was some coaching things that happened where they were like, you need to step it up. But he wasn't giving us his WWE performances out there on the ice like he was the previous time that we had faced Danbury.
Although he did flop in Saturday's game in the first period once, where there was contact made, and he kind of like went, "Wah!" And I'm like, well, there it is. But then he was a little bit more composed after that. But he did do it once in Saturday's game.
Yeah, well, once compared to almost every time we took a shot it's been a big difference.
Yeah.
He played an excellent game Friday night. There's no question about that. He faced, I think, 56 shots or something like that. And that's not easy to do.
No. And also, I think on Saturday night in that first period, the Black Bears were hot. I mean, the goals were going in. I mean, Mac Jansen and Nick Swain were just on fire. And I don't think there was a lot of good defense in front of him, but he handled it well. So I'll be honest with you, Taylor, what I think happened, and I think it's still in the back of his mind, but what I think happened is Johnny Ruiz and their head coach, and maybe even MJ Merkel, probably talked with him or probably had the conversation when they told him about Frankie leaving, that you are now the man that has to step up, and we can't see certain things out of you. I mean, there probably had to be some sort of coaching with him amongst Johnny Ruiz and even the two coaches with that team to kind of get him to step it up a little bit, because I think he's got the skill. I really do. I think they do have a possibility of having another Connor McCollum. However, it was concerning to see him act the way he did in a couple of those games before this past weekend.
Well, I know, even watching him in Friday night's game, we were kind of making comments here and there about him making full body saves and really, throwing himself out there to make these saves. we were kind of hoping that eventually, because that's hard to do, to constantly make that many saves and to use your full body like that. We were kind of hoping that eventually he made a mistake doing that, and we could get more pucks past him, and it never happened.
Right. Which
that in itself is impressive in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Power play opportunities. Binghamton 0 for 2. Danbury 0 for 2 in the second period. And shots on goal. Binghamton had 17. Danbury had 3. Yeah, we're doing that again, apparently. Binghamton 36 and Danbury 10. Let's move into the third period, where I think there was only one person that decided to, score a goal.
The Black Bears tie the game up with 3:32 left to go in the game as Tyson Kirkby scores again in front of the net, making this a 2-2 game.
Yeah, it was kind of funny, too, because he scores that goal, and I went back and I rewatched it. I'm like, that is such a Tyson Kirkby style goal. He was doing those goals up in the ECHL. He can do them here in the SPHL. It is just amazing that when you put him in front of a goaltender face to face, somehow he finds a way. And sometimes he hacks at it like 3 or 4 times before it goes in, but he gets it in.
Yeah, he's a pro at getting those gritty goals that everyone constantly talks about. I'm sure there are people still talking about him getting a goal while sliding on his butt. It's one of those things where he manages to do it, and it's a staple in the game, and it makes a huge. I mean, it obviously made a huge impact in this game.
All right, so the Black Bears start the third period like they did in the second period on a power play, but they did not convert, and at this point sit 0 for 6 on the power play. When Emerson Emery took the cross-checking call, C-Mac started to head to the bench, thinking the penalty was on the hat tricks when it was not. I don't know. I can't explain that one. The Black Bears have now given the hat tricks 3 straight power plays in the third period. Here's what I will say about C-Mac doing that. He probably saw a penalty that the hat tricks committed that the referees didn't. Then he sees the arm goes up and he's like, oh, all right, power play for us. And it starts to skate up the ice. That's the only thing I could think of, because when I saw that, I was like, and then I heard Brooks and Cole Parenti talk about it. I was like, he had to have seen the arm go up and thought there was a penalty. He probably, listen, if there's anybody that could see penalties being committed, it would be C-Mac with those eyes. The Black Bears have now given the hat tricks 3 straight power plays in the third period. The kill has been good, but this doesn't help generate offense what the Black Bears needed. At the end of the period, Tyson scores his second goal, ties the game up 2 games apiece with just a few minutes left to go. Tyson, at times in his career, has put things on his shoulders. The Black Bears have so many chances in this game, had so many chances that did not go in, hitting posts, missing open nets, but they tied the game up and got the point and head into overtime. Black Bears will start the OT period with a 1:40 of penalty kill time. So they committed a penalty at the end of the third period. The power play opportunities in the third period, 0 for 3. Danbury 0 for 3 as well. Shots on goal. Binghamton had 17. Danbury, a few more, had 8. Totals 53 for Binghamton after 3 periods, and Danbury 18. And then we go into the overtime and shootout.
So the overtime period and shootout, neither team could score in the 5-minute overtime period. The Black Bears secured the 3-2 shootout win after CJ Stubbs scored on Razar. It's the Black Bears' second shooter in the shootout.
Now, what I found very interesting about that goal was that he went all the way to the outside. Then he comes in, middle slot, and gets a right 5-hole right down the middle. And we talked about this a couple times now on the show. When you go down the middle, the goaltender has to make a decision. Do I go down or do I go up? And the advantage is to the shooter. And even though CJ went to the outside and Razar started to follow him, he came back to the middle and was able to beat him. It was a really good shot.
I know we always talk about how you want to go straight on, and CJ went as far wide as he could.
But then came around and went right down the middle, which was pretty good. And of course, CJ Stubbs, that was his 7th game-winning goal of the season out of like 13 goals. It's crazy. It's like a 54% rate of his goals are game winners, which is pretty insane. Obviously, with the Black Bears on the PK for the first 140 in the OT period, they didn't generate any offense early. Only 11 seconds of 3-on-3 in the overtime period. As the Black Bears killed the penalty, the two teams didn't have a stoppage in play until the 11-second mark. That means they went 4 minutes and 49 seconds, if I do the math correctly, of either 5-on-4 or 4-on-4 in the overtime. That doesn't happen that much. Binghamton takes their timeout with 11 seconds left to go. When it was all said and done, the Black Bears defense was good enough, only giving up one shot on goal, yet their offense had 4. CJ Stubbs was the second shooter, like Mac Jansen in the first game of the season. The second shooter scored, and that's all the Black Bears needed to win. Connor McAnanima has now saved all 6 shots he's seen in 2 shootouts. The Black Bears win their 9th game in a row. They play the next 3 games versus the Hat-Tricks still. This was a fun and intense game to watch, but the next 3 are all in Binghamton, with tomorrow night, Saturday night being Teddy Bear toss game. The Black Bears need to sink more of their shots tomorrow. It's kind of funny how I said this on Friday night, and then they did tonight or on Friday night. Yes, Razar was good, but he was at the friendly confines of the Danbury Ice Arena. How will they be on Saturday night if he plays in Binghamton? Power play opportunities in the overtime, 0 for 0, Danbury 0 for 1. Shots on goal, Binghamton 4, Danbury 1. And the totals were 58 shots for Binghamton, and Danbury had 19. It was a very interesting way to end the game, seeing that they don't go to overtime that often. And they now have, and there's the win.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was a good game to watch.
Yes.
Because there was quite a few penalties, but nothing like that crazy and nothing dirty. Like it was just a lot of hockey, just a lot of back and forth. We generated a ton of shots like we normally do. Razar played off his head. There was, I think, 3 times. So Gavin Yates hit in the post a couple times, and then there was another one. I think it was when maybe Ramekers took a shot. I can't quite remember, but it was when I think I messaged you and I was like, "How did that goal not go in? Or how was that not a goal?" Because it was just one of those things where it was fluky and it was just insane. So it was a very intense game to watch for that reason, but not intense in the way of it was physical.
Yeah.
Rough.
Well, I think they were physical and they competed, but not in a, going over that edge, being dirty, being overly aggressive. Neither team was that. And I think, the Hat-Tricks did what they needed to do. They got the first 2 goals and they're like, okay, things are going in our favor. But then the Black Bears defense really kind of stepped it up, and their offense was good and Razar was good. And I think that's really kind of the factor there. All right, let's wrap this one up with a bow.
Black Bears escaped Danbury with a shootout win 3-2. The captain, Tyson Kirkby, scored his 4th and 5th goals of the season for a 2-point night. CJ Stubbs scored the only shootout goal of the skills competition, earning his 7th game winner of the season. Shocker. Connor McAnanima saved 17 of 19 shots, all 3 attempts in the shootout, to win his 10th game of the season and improving his record to 10-1-0. The Black Bears win their 9th straight game and have now also won both games that have gone into overtime but finished in the shootout this season. The Black Bears improved to 18-2-0 with 52 points and continue their dominance in the Empire Division.
Yeah, good game. I enjoyed watching it as well, Taylor. I thought it was a fun game to watch. All right, let's break this up. We're going to go to the interview I did earlier today with Biloxi Breakers broadcaster Devin Dobek. We'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers.
Hi, this is Brandon Buchinski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Very excited to talk to this gentleman one more time as the new season has begun and we are here. He's in his 2nd year of broadcasting with a different team, though, this year. He's down in Biloxi with the Biloxi Breakers. He's our good friend, Devin Dobek. Devin, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you. You went from, let's see here, Danville, Illinois. Could be cold, could be snowy, it could be really crappy weather right now. And you're down on the coast of the Gulf of Mexico right now. Devin, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you, and I'm jealous of the warmer weather that you're having right now.
Hey, Bob. Happy to be back here. Yeah, it's a good change in scenery for sure. Sunshine down here in the Gulf Coast, 52 degrees. A little bit windy today, but I mean, much better than what I'm seeing up north. My Patriots are playing in the snow right now, so it's definitely quite the disparity.
Yes, and they were playing against the Bills. I was actually just watching the game a little bit before we started talking, and I know the Patriots are having a phenomenal season after, and I think it was a surprise to a lot of people. Like, if you weren't paying attention to the Patriots, and then about halfway through the season, or maybe a little bit more than halfway through the season, you looked at their record and you said, wait a second here, they're the number one team in the AFC East, and they're biting to be the number one team in the AFC. Why do you think that is? Where did that come from over the last couple of years?
It's the Mike Vrabel effect. I think that they brought him in. He proved in Tennessee that he could build a team really from nothing, and somehow he had a falling out there. I think they should have kept their faith with Vrabel, but he comes in, completely changes the culture, invests in the team, brings in 6 guys who are making good paydays, like bolstered the defense, brings in Stephon Diggs, you got your receiver, and Drake May with the pieces around him, and then a couple new weapons in the backfield, Henderson. I mean, there's nothing that can stop them. It was a shaky start. They lost to the Raiders and the Steelers. They're 1-2 through 3 weeks, but they've just turned it on, and it's been fun to watch. It kind of reminds me of the olden days when I was growing up.
Yeah, because you're younger, and obviously you had the Tom Brady. Everybody obviously in New England had a love affair for Tom Brady and what he accomplished, along with, of course, Bill Belichick. Let's talk a little bit about the end of last year. The Dashers Hockey Club. Apologies, but it's still the Danville Dashers. What am I saying? And rough season, I think, for the organization, the team. Obviously, the team is no longer there. But when you think back now about your time with the Dashers and all the things that you learned from that experience, it could only add to the growth of who you are as a broadcaster, as a team member, as a partner with an organization. When you think back about that time period, what was the thing that you probably said, you know what, I got through this, and this is the reason why?
Yeah, it was obviously a turbulent year. You know, we had it felt like the weight of the world in the hockey world on our shoulders. Kind of the spotlight was on us. Everybody was looking for us to win, but also to survive. And there was plenty of adversities that we had to go through. But I think that the baptism by fire was something that I needed to begin my career. I think that I had to learn everything. I basically went in there with nothing. Like, even when I was hired, like, there were pieces moving out of the organization and equipment was taken. Like, I had virtually nothing when I got there, and I really had to figure it all out. And I'd never really had that experience in college. I'd worked, with professional radio stations and things of that nature, but everything was taught to you firsthand right there. I had to show up and figure it out. And it was tough. I mean, I look back at my first broadcast, like no score bug, no commercials, just basically a live feed with some lousy audio connected through the camera, not even a soundboard. And then I take a look back at the Motor City home series and what we were able to do. We got cameras in the booth, we got graphics, score bugs. Like, I just learned so much, and I owe a lot of that to my colleagues. The broadcasters in this league really look out for each other, and I learned so many different things. Just to name a few: Brett Wiseman, Will Wiggleman, Brian Flores, of course, Furtado and Furcano. There's just so many different people. Even Brooks Hill, of course. How could I forget? I mean, It's one game I showed up in Binghamton, and I wasn't always double checking if I packed, and I forgot my soundboard, and Brooks went and got me a soundboard so I could get on the air that night, his own personal backup. So, like, everybody stepped up to really help me make it through that year, and I feel like I was really able to develop my style, and it stunk losing. I mean, we had a we lost 43 games in a row from October 25th to March 20th. But coming out of UMass, I was really only used to calling winning hockey. And even in college, like if a game got to 4-1, 5-1, I would feel kind of my energy and my tone drift away. And I just kind of would shut down. And calling a lot of losing hockey last year, it forced me to be optimistic and focus on the positive with the Dashers, even with everything going on. And, I really think it could only go up from there. And there were other opportunities for me before I ended up being with the Dashers. But looking back, I think that was the exact place that I needed to be to figure everything out from the ground up. And my knowledge behind the microphone, my knowledge with all the equipment, like I would have had none of that if everything was gift wrap for me. And I went to, one of these first class organizations off the jump.
Tell us a little bit about, take us behind the closed doors for a minute. When did you know that the Dashers were just not going to return? Was it before the end of the season or was it after the end of the season?
It's really tough to say. I think like in the back of my mind, I kind of knew it was going to be it. We had some really good fans. Like we obviously the attendance was the lowest in the league, just about, but like the fans that showed up night in and night out, my heart really goes out to them. They're a really good group of people. They did everything they could to keep that team breathing, and it was not an easy task to do, but that community stepped up, albeit very small. But there was always thoughts in the back of my head that, the team wasn't going to come back. And one thing I did know, and I accepted around the midway point, was that I did not want to return there. It was just,
really
the market was just, it was tough. I mean, they used to be a big factory town, a couple factories shut down, and there was just, not enough people that could attend the games or afford to attend the games. And it was just sad. And not only that, but around the league, like we were trying to make moves to bring in people and people just didn't want to play there. And I kind of accepted that the place was out of its prime. I mean, you look at the Vermilion County situation and then roll it into this season. And I couldn't really do that to myself again. It was, I definitely loved that part of my career, just for the experience and the community and the people. But I knew that I needed to shift gears because, it was just, low budget. Like there was no funding. Unfortunately, I arrived there a couple weeks before the season, like right before training camp as it was going on. And there was just not much corporate sales. And, they got a late start in around July. I mean, most teams start selling the spring before, and rolling it into the season. So they got a late start and, it was a tough off season, but it just came down to, a lack of money, just bad amenities and good people. I can't say enough about the people around the David S. Palmer Arena. I miss a lot of those people. I think about them from time to time, and just a little in passing. It was a family to me there, and they're all good. But yeah, it was. To answer your question, Bob, I know I'm kind of going on tangents here.
Okay.
But to answer your question, I didn't wave the white flag until I officially saw it posted on when the David S. Palmer said that they were terminating the lease. I kind of held out, and there was also, as much as I thought that the team was going to be done at the end of the season, there were other investors and potential owners that were staying in touch, talking to the general manager of the rink. So the general manager, I had a very close relationship with, Terry. She was really cool, really awesome. Hope she's doing well, but she would tell me yeah, we've got people interested. They really like certain aspects of this organization, and they feel with the right pieces they can come in and make it work next season. And unfortunately, those investors just didn't love what they saw, whether it was attending games or looking at numbers, and they just feel like it wasn't a good investment. And so they bowed out, and we held on to a little bit of hope to see what would happen. I wish there was a team there this season just for the fans, but ultimately it just wasn't a market that could afford to keep an FPHL team alive.
And when did you get in contact, or when did Biloxi get in contact with you? Obviously, the Mississippi Seawolves situation was changing here, obviously there in Biloxi, where Barry Soskin was kind of removing himself, or he was being removed from the SPHL ownership groups, and obviously Chris was taking over, basically the main role to run the team. Obviously, there was a brand change and things of that nature. When did you start getting involved with Biloxi?
So towards the end of the Dashers season, I was, kind of saying my thank yous, and Don Lewis stepped in, and me and him started to develop a good relationship around February or March. And he was, he realized like how much adversity we were facing, and that I was doing everything I could, but it obviously wasn't up to the standard that you'd like, but it was just a lack of things. But he eventually understood that, and I think he realized like what I can bring to the table, and so I sent him a thank you, of course, congratulated him for winning Executive of the Year, and eventually he told me, hey, give me a call if you're interested next season in sticking in hockey. And so I shot him a text probably over the spring, maybe it was May, maybe a month after the season. And I was like, hey, Don, like, just wanted to follow up with you. And, you said to reach out to you after the season. And so he said, yeah, Devin. And we set up a phone call. And basically he's like, I want to talk to you about the opportunity in Biloxi. As you know, Clement's here. We need a guy to go there. And he had a lot of really kind words for me, and really instilled a lot of trust in what I was doing, and the potential that I have to, go somewhere else, even beyond the Fed. And he appreciated that and wanted that to remain in his organizations. And so, yeah, I reached out to a few other teams. Obviously, I was trying to weigh options and see what the best situation would be. And at the end of the day, Biloxi was my only formal offer, albeit I accepted it right around the beginning of June. So I didn't really exercise the entire summer, and, not exactly every team that I could have, but in light of what Don had said to me, it really, tugged at my heartstrings, for lack of a better phrase. And I was like, if I've got an owner behind me that believes in me, and a market that, is far different. I mean, their population is massive here in Biloxi. It's a big casino town, Vegas of the South. So it's a much bigger market. I love the arena. I'd gone down there, and it's right on the beach. And as much as I haven't had much time to really explore all the beaches and golf like I thought I was going to down here, because I've just been so busy putting everything into this team. But yeah, it really, Don, talking with Don and finding an agreement, it was, he was definitely the piece that sold me. And then I was very nervous about what coach we were going to bring in, because obviously I had 3 coaches with my first team in Danville, and they all brought different things to the table, but they also, they all had a lot of successes, and there were plenty of failures. So I kind of had figured out like what I needed to have, and not only a coach but a colleague. And not that I was making that hiring decision, but I kind of knew, like, after seeing 3 different coaches, you see how things go down and develop in their own ways, and you kind of know what someone needs. And then we brought in Charlie Penns, and he immediately called me, and I had a great phone call with Penner. And again, like, if Don hadn't completely sold me, Penner did. And they both were a big part of that. And
that's awesome.
I was thrilled to hear that Penner was headed down, and he's a guy who I trust into the gates of hell. He's a warrior, and he did it on the ice, and now he's doing it as both a head coach and general manager. And it's been great. I'm very happy to have wound up here in Biloxi. Just hopefully the wins can start piling up.
Yeah, I don't want you to say this just because you work for Biloxi, but it sounds like to me that the organizational setup is night and day between what you dealt with in Danville versus what you have now in Biloxi. Is that fair to say that it's like night and day?
Absolutely. I mean, every week, we had a financial burden of some kind at Danville. It would be like, okay, like, how are we going to get wired money to eat on the road trip? How are we going to get wired money to fix the bus? Is the bus going to make it? Like, all these things that were constantly like weighing down on us. Here in Biloxi, like there's not so much that. I'd say my stress is more with my the things that I do throughout the work week, like from week to week, trying to better myself and better the work and things that I'm doing. Those are really what grabs my attention in the way that the burdens were in Danville. And so it's nice to not have to worry about, you know, what's going on with money. Chris Briniarski, who's our owner, one of our owners as well, the majority owner, and he also has said some very kind things to me, and he's completely bought into the Breakers front office. So me, Charlie Pence, Nate Gosline, Laney Forehand, everybody else involved, Brett Riley, the assistant coach, Gretchen Anderson. Like there's so many good pieces here, and he almost feels like he doesn't have to worry about us as much as he does his other entities, because we're very self-sufficient, and Penner can sell water to a fish. He's very good at what he does, and he does it in a way that's mutually beneficial. So it's not like, you know, I'm not saying it like he's a snake oil salesman and selling ads for nothing. Like these are good, well-structured trade deals that get impressions and benefits for both sides of the coin. So it's definitely a much better financial situation. The living is incredible too. We live in luxury apartments, and it's great to be around all the guys here, but yeah, it's certainly night and day, and it's definitely nice to focus everything more on my job as opposed to if I'm going to have a job tomorrow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, and Charlie Pence Jr., he's a character. Let's be honest. I mean, you talk about him being like, you know, like he could sell anything to anybody, that type of thing. But he's also he's just a character. He's a guy that either you will laugh with or he'll just entertain you in some way. And part of that's a part of hockey in some senses, right? We have entertainers on the ice, and then we have entertainers sometimes behind the bench a little bit as well. And Charlie, I've listened to interviews that you've done with Charlie, especially before the season started. He is just a guy that when you bring him in, I know you already spoke about him, but talk a little bit more about him just being kind of that kind of character guy, you know, that you want to play for him, but you also want to watch him too because of the entertainment factor as well.
Yeah, he's very he's both diplomatic and analytical, and he's lived 9 lives already. He's a guy who knows things. He's like a lot of street smarts. Like he understands it, and he kind of sees the world in a way that I'd say pretty much the majority of others don't. And he has a different lens on everything. He opens up a lot of new perspectives to me, especially. He's a guy who just, you know, he's a problem solver. Like obviously there's a lot of turbulence here, but like he came in out of Clearwater. He wasn't supposed to arrive till the fall, but he came from Clearwater over the summer to come and make sure that this team got off on the right financial footing. Like they needed him. Like we were, you know, not doing terrible, but we needed an extra kick, and he came in and brought that before he even needed to arrive officially. And without him, I think it would be a little bit of a different financial situation, maybe, because he's brought in a ton for us and stepped up as the general manager, taking on that extra role in addition to his head coaching duties. So it was pretty incredible to see how he came in and injected some life into the organization and developed these relationships with the community and people around here, and really just going the extra mile to ensure that there were amenities for the players, you know, certain things, good living, like worked out a trade deal with these apartments, made them the jersey sponsor so we could have luxury apartments. Nice. Like he did everything for such a good reason and with all the right intentions, and he's hoping to do this for years to come here in Biloxi. So he's completely bought in. He's still trying to figure out, obviously, the roster and all the personnel, but that will all come as long as we have a good foundation and the team will continue on.
Let me ask you this, as we're starting to get into maybe conversations about some of the players. You know, Brant Sherwood has brought a lot of players into the Binghamton organization, and then they have sprinkled out into the SPHL. And one of the guys I think a lot of people were very surprised with this year, having a lot of success, not only in Biloxi, but now up in the SP as well, is Khaden Henry. I've had him on the show. I've talked to him. I know the kind of person that he is. But were you even a little bit surprised at 15 goals, 21 assists for 36 points in 17 games played? I know he had a hat trick. He had a hat trick just recently up in the SPHL. Talk a little bit about Khade's performance, because it really did impress a lot of us as we were watching from afar.
Yeah, Khade, I knew we were going to get a good piece. I was almost surprised because we had so many forwards. That was the thing. Like, a lot of our defensemen around training camp had backed out, so we just had so many forwards. So then we traded for another. I was like, okay, he's a good player, but did we need him? And I'd remember seeing his speed when I was calling games against him, whether he was with Binghamton or Monroe. Mm-hmm. And I knew that he was a fast player, and he'd scored a couple times against us, but he never really blew me off my toes, and that was because I wasn't watching him, as closely as I was my own team. And
sure.
I got to see him in camp, and I was like, holy cow, his release, his speed. And then in training camp, that's when it hit me. I was like, holy cow, this guy is going to be a catalyst for our success heading into the season. What a deal for financial considerations, which, thank you to the former powers that be in Monroe. But it was an unbelievable deal. In my deal, I think, we're talking about value, and I think that might be one of the better trades, if not the best trade in the SPHL all season long, as far as cause and effect.
Yeah,
giving up pretty much nothing and getting, the ultimate rookie of the month for virtually nothing. Khade was fun to watch. He's got a high hockey IQ. He knows the game well. He's fast. He's deliberate. He's a man of few words. So I'm very curious as to how he was on your podcast, because he's very humble publicly. He's not a guy who's going to celebrate all the time when he scores. Almost never celebrates even. Very humble, and he just wants to get better. He loves the game. And he would step up. He's one of those guys, he wants it more than others, because, other guys, you got a losing game and they're headed out to the bar, and Khade's either, or even after a win, guys are going out to have a couple drinks, which is, it's hockey players. This is, you get a win, you have a few beers, that is what it is. But Khade, his body was so important to him. He's always the designated driver, taking care of his teammates, not drinking a drop of alcohol. He would eat very well, take care of his body. We had some saunas and salt baths and things of that nature here, and he would always try and be in there taking care of his body, going that extra mile, getting the extra workout. Getting him to do the off-ice questions for social media drives me insane, because the guy is on the ice well beyond, until the Zamboni guy's yelling at him to get off. I'm like, Khade, can you just come answer the question? He's like, no, dude, I don't like to talk about myself. Khade, come on, man. It's time to get off the ice. I need you here. He's just an absolute workhorse. He loves the game more than most, and he's also got the confidence now. I think that his season here kind of proved to him that he's a good hockey player. And I had the chance to talk to him last night over text and congratulated him on his hat trick. He had some kind words for me. He misses having me on the call, but he did say he loves the opportunity up there, and he's going to make the most of it. And he had some good words for their coach up there, and said that he had already taught him a lot. And just was a high IQ guy, even though he may come off as rash or whatever. And it seems like they're a great fit. He wanted Khade to come up there and provide offense, and he's done that almost instantaneously. So unfortunately for Biloxi, I don't see a world in which he's headed back down.
No, maybe not. Maybe not until the near the end of the season, and hopefully you guys have battled your way to possibly a playoff berth. Now, let's talk a little bit about like who is the leader on this team. I know there's not like an older statesman, veteran kind of player, but there are some pros that are on this team. Can you name one guy that basically you've seen step up and become basically the leader of the team player wise?
It's been tough, Bob, because when the winds are sailing good, everybody's getting along and everybody can wear their letters and it's all hunky dory. But in times like this, I think that some of the pieces have fallen into the whatever you want to call it, just back into the fold. And it's just as far as a leader goes right now, like we've got some guys who are vocal, but we just need someone to lead physically and on and off the ice. There are, a few guys that we have on this team that do step up and are vocal. I mean, coming to mind, you got Dylan Infantino. He's, not a guy with a ton of FPHL games, but he's a warrior. He's a guy who hates losing just about as much as Khaden Henry. He does not like to lose, and seeing his emotions after a win versus a loss, like you could not even think it's the same guy. Like he goes into like this jubilation, like a kid on Christmas morning as we're approaching that time of season. And after wins and after losses, like it's head in the hands, right to bed. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. And it's an anger that he feels. And that's what you need is guys who are warriors and want to win. Declan Flanagan's another guy who's very vocal in his third FPHL season, but he's had injury troubles and he just got off IR and he's kind of come out and been a vocal leader for the guys and kind of just trying to fire them up at all times, keep the energy. He's a big morale guy, making sure everybody's smiling. Same with Rosenswag. As much of a knucklehead as he can be at times, he's a hilarious guy, but he also is a vocal leader. And, we've taken a look back at the Monroe thing. Like he understood the score was getting a little ugly and Monroe was just completely taking it to him on all cylinders, to the breakers, that is. And he was sick of his team being pushed around. So as he's skating to the bench, someone says something and he's going to be the spark that fires up his team and everybody get involved. And, we could look back at these moments and it kind of brings the group closer together. And I think, stepping up physically in a way like that, there's a bunch of guys who've really started to make the difference. Curtis Hansen is a veteran too. He's a true pro, a guy who's got a lot of good things to say. Always trying to set the theme for the week and say, here's where we are. This is where we need to be. Here's how we're going to get there.
Does he? Does Curtis Hansen have a little bit of Hansen in him from the Slapshot guys? I mean, I'm just kind of curious if there's any like Hansen in him, so to speak. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Curdy is he's not a huge physical guy. He's had 2 fights this season, but one of them he was sticking up for a teammate who took a bad hit in the corner, and he just grabbed the guy, dropped the gloves like you're supposed to do, sticking up for his teammate. And then he got in a fight on I believe it was either last night or Friday night, and Kyler Matthews just jumped him off the face-off, just dropped his gloves and jumped Curdy, and he had nothing to do about it, and he got, he took a few, but he is not a Hansen. You want to know about a Hansen? Talk about number 55, Brendan Spinelli.
Okay.
To know that name, he's going to be on Bruise and Batter a lot. That guy can swing. He wears the glasses during the game with the tape in the middle.
Does he really?
He's got mullet haircut that's flowing down. He whipped the glasses off last night and then pumped Kyler Matthews down to the ice. He is a strong kid, Bob. You got to go watch that fight after this.
Okay.
Literally grabbed him by the shoulders and threw him down forcibly. Like, that's tough to shake a guy's balance like that. But this guy eats a ton, like trains. He's full of energy. He's another guy. His body's a temple, and he sticks up for his teammates and is afraid of no one. Like at the end of Friday night's game, he was having a conversation with Leah Rockos, and Leah Rockos had, like, I don't know what had happened. It bumped into him or whatever. And he was like, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Went right up to Yanni Leah Rockos.
Yeah.
And basically, like, moved his head at him, like as if to get him to flinch, like a quick little half step. like to try and get him to flinch, and Lirakos did, and then he was like, oh, that's 2 for flinching. Like, he's literally afraid of no one. I mean, Yanni's a beast physically.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got this rookie who's got 10 games stepping up to him. He's had 2 fights. His first fight was against Thomas Murphy. I mean, that's another tough customer.
Yep.
And that was his first game as a breaker. He stepped up and held his own against Thomas Murphy. Like, that was impressive. And then he comes in, beats up Kyler Matthews. Like, he is a tough customer. And I always joke that he's a handsome brother. And yeah, that guy is a bruiser.
I love it. So last weekend, you guys faced off against the Topeka Scarecrows, split the series, but you ended the split on the positive side, right? Winning 5-2 in Topeka, and then obviously the trip goes to Monroe. Was there? I know the history with Monroe hasn't been positive for Biloxi so far this season. Monroe's had their way maybe a little bit with Biloxi, but I can't imagine that anybody expected a 22-3 score differential after the 2 games were done. There was a lot of on-ice stuff that obviously happened, and stuff between the benches happened and whatnot. But what was the mood of the team heading back to Biloxi after that? Because I gotta imagine there was probably a few guys maybe self-checking themselves and saying, "Hey, we got to do better." What was the bus ride back like? Because that's got to be a tough one to, unfortunately, especially after winning in Topeka 5-2. You probably have some good practices, and then boom, 2 games like that.
I mean, yeah, but I think where I'd start as a rebuttal to that, I'm kind of going to, paint the picture as to how we're looking at it as opposed to just the surface. So
sure.
We're down 5 of our top scorers, especially in that second game.
Yeah.
I mean, we are without Khaden Henry, who was called up the week that prior to this weekend. So we lose him. It's our first weekend without him. And he's one of the best players in the SPHL at this time. We lose him. We lose Yariev Dakamov, our captain, on the injured list. Aldi Nerland has an injury during practice. He doesn't play. He had a 6-point weekend against Topeka. Then we lose Cole Crowder with a concussion from the line brawl with Baton Rouge lingering. And we lose who's the last one? Declan Conway, unable to play Saturday because of or an injury. And so we're down 5 of our top points guys. Those are guys all with double-digit points, and all but Nerland, because he's the most recent, is guys who have close to 20 points. Crowder leads the team in power play goals, so there's that threat gone. Yaro's our assist leader. Cade, obviously, what can he do? And Nerland. Conway's our current leading scorer. He's got 24 points, and another huge piece of leading by example. So we're down those 5 guys. We don't even have AJ Schlepp Friday night, so there's not much we can do to protect ourselves. And I mean, you look at it, we had a short bench. I mean, you look at that bench, there's like nobody on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like 13, 14 guys. We could barely dress a whole roster. So I think it was more of a hats off to the guys who knew everything going on and all the odds that were against us, and still showed up and played. I mean, it was a tough travel day on Friday, and came in on 2 wheels and had to go and play a game, shorthanded, quick shifts. And then, you throw in all these ejections into it, and you're playing with even less guys from everything going on. So I think Charlie Penn's, he was very, very mature and composed for just a second-year head coach in this league. He kind of was like, you know what, guys? The odds were against us. Monroe, they're a great team. This is nothing to take away from Monroe. Even if we do have those 5 guys in the lineup, do we still get swept? Maybe, probably, based on, history earlier to this season. But, I don't think the games are that far apart with those 5 pieces back in the lineup. So I think Penner was like, you know what, guys, like, we did what we could. Obviously losing sucks, and Penner wasn't telling them like this is going to continue, but changes will be made, and this won't be happening much more. So and the guys showed fight. I think if despite the whole circus going on physically between the two teams over the weekend, like it also shows that, you know, these guys are starting to play for each other and stick up for each other physically on all cylinders. And I think that says a lot and could be one of those early foundation pieces before you get in maybe a couple veteran leaders or experienced pros that can be added to that mix. And then in 2026, that's when you have the majority of your home games.
Yeah.
And after March, there's not a losable game on the schedule. You don't play Monroe anymore. You don't have Athens. So, I mean, if they can figure it out now, then
They'll
think
be okay.
that it will fare them very well. Yeah, headed into the back half of the season.
All right. So now that's the team going through those two games. How does Devin handle, having to make that call for those two games? Because probably one of the toughest things a broadcaster has to do is fill in space when it's a 0-0 tie going into the shootout. There's a lot of space you have to probably fill for that. But at the same time, selling to your own fan base why it's going to be okay after losing 23-2 in two games. That's a very tough thing to do. Tell me a couple of the tricks or a couple of the things that maybe you had to do to get through those two games yourself.
That's a hell of a question, Bob. It was,
hard.
It was tough. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, I received some really good messages from the fans and after last night's game, especially, and they were like, we really appreciate how you stuck in it with the energy. And in the back of my head, I know I could have, given more, but in a 12-1 game, like you're not necessarily giving 110% like I am typically. Like maybe it's more like 95%.
What are you giving on the podcast here? 85, 87%? I'm just kind of curious what the
something around there. Something around
good.
there. Yeah.
On a Sunday, I'll take that all day long.
Yeah. But no, it was I'm trying to regather my thought there. But it was a tough weekend. But just making sure that everybody understands the same thing that I just told you. Like we're shorthanded. Like Penner is a guy who's not gonna continue to lose. Like he's going to figure it out. It's only a matter of time. He's proven he can do it before.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of time. And I also Monroe, like they're a great team, but it's because they've got so many skilled players who've played in the ECHL and the SPHL and they're coming down to play for the Moccasins for one reason or another. And, they are the better team. Like it's not really a question, or it's not even me digging at the Breakers. It's Monroe's a much better team all around. Watch them move the puck. Watch their offense. They play physical. They get under team skin. Like they are a good team. They're a good hockey team, a better hockey team than us right now. And so just understanding that a great hockey team is now playing a team that's towards the bottom of the division early on in the season without 5 of their top guys and point scorers, close to 75 points off the table. So just basically making sure that the cards are laid out and people understand, hey, like this is pretty much as bad as it could get. I don't foresee it getting much worse than, 10-2, 12-1. And there's reason to be optimistic. I mean, Tim Payne came in this weekend, made his Breakers debut, and obviously you're not going to say like he had a tremendous weekend because I'm sure, he was getting a lot of long shifts, and but he got in a couple fights, showed he could be physical, scored his first goal.
Yeah.
He's a guy who's played professionally in a bunch of different countries. Like he's a huge piece of what we're going to have going forward. So just continuing to get guys like that and add, and then once you get everybody healthy, not to mention another 3 or 4 guys who were playing in the game were not healthy. In those physical games, like there's a lot of banged up guys that were forced to go in the second game after not wanting to potentially, and they did, and they came out and they played physical, and it's definitely was a bit tough to keep the picture painted in a decent light, because I'm not even going to say positive light because you can't really make 12-1 positive. But just basically instilling hope in encouraging people to buy in.
Yeah.
And buckle up and remember this, and then remember where we're going to be in a few months.
Absolutely. That's the best way to look at it. And it's really the only way to look at it. Devin, thank you so much very much for coming on, talking to us. It's been a pleasure to kind of get to know you over the last year or so. It kind of sucks that we don't see a team like Biloxi this year here in Binghamton or Binghamton down there, because I would definitely, love to be able to catch up and see you again. Coming into Binghamton, you get to come into one of the best press boxes, one of the best positions for a hockey broadcaster here in Binghamton. And, I just like seeing it, but you do get the warmer weather down there, which is nice. I know it's only 50. And it's windy right now, so it's not that pretty outside today, but normally you guys are not shoveling snow or breaking through ice and doing all the things that you remembered as a kid, I'm sure. But thank you very much for coming back on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Bob. It's always great to talk to you, and what you do around the league has been awesome to take in and listen to. And I'm definitely a fan of yours, and it's nice to be a part of it now. And I'm hoping that people will like to hear what I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. He is Devin Dobek of the Biloxi Breakers, and we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. That was Devin Dobek of the Biloxi Breakers. Want to thank him for coming on the show and talking to us this week a little bit about everything that's happened with him since the Dashers leading up till this past weekend, which was not the best weekend for the Breakers, but hopefully good things are on their way for them. So, Taylor, let's get into Saturday night's game. Big, important game, not only just for the Black Bears, but even for the community as well.
Black Bears dominate on Saturday night with 8 goals and their 10th win in a row. December 13th, 2025, Visions Veterans Memorial Arena, Game 21 of the season, Danbury Hat tricks at Binghamton Black Bears. First period, the Teddy Bears came flying at the 11:26 mark of the first period as Black Bears scored first with Nick Swain's 3rd goal of the season, making this a 1-0 game. With Gennaro Fonduto in the penalty box for high sticking, Mac Jansen scored his 15th goal of the season, making this a 2-0 game just 3 minutes and 20 seconds later after the Swain goal. Nick Swain made it a 3-0 game with 4:13 left to go in the period, scoring his 2nd goal of the game. With 11 seconds left to go in the period, Mac Jansen scored his 16th goal of the season to make this a 4-0 lead for the Black Bears.
Now, before we carry on, I just want to say I liked how they were pleasantly going back and forth with these goals. It wasn't Nick getting 2 and then Mac getting 2. Now, it's like Nick got 1, Mac got 1, Nick got 1, Mac got 1. It was just a very nice, respectful way to handle dishing out who scored the goals there in the first period. But let's stop there for a second and talk a little bit about, obviously, the Teddy Bear toss. Your thoughts on what you saw. You're on the one end. You guys got the net in front of you, so most of the people on the ends, they have to do something differently with their Teddy Bear toss. But from your vantage point, what did it look like to you as the Teddy Bears came flying?
It looked like there was a ton. Like it just started and it didn't seem like it stopped. And then it just felt like it was an eternity before it was ever cleaned up. And, we do have the net, we sit pretty close to the glass. So the net, we can't really throw anything above that. But, we've got Steve down in our corner. He's our red coat guy. I love him to death. He's so awesome. He opens the door for us, and we just lob him down there. There's a couple people that go down there to make sure they get them all out the door. But, yeah, it's a lot of fun in our section. And, we got our teddy bears out there. But to see Swain get that goal and just the excitement on his face was awesome. And then to see the teddy bears just start flying, it's something that you don't forget. It truly is.
It's my favorite game of the year. I love watching the teddy bears fly. I've been this way for a long time. The Power Play Bow Show donated over 300 teddy bears from our own personal collection here at Box Studios many years ago with the Binghamton Senators when they were here in town. We did not throw all 300 over the glass. We actually just brought them in and brought them in, and they added them to the count. It's just a lot of fun. It's just one of my favorite things. It's just a way to generate to make sure that a kid has a gift at Christmas time, or in the case for the Black Bears, they do theirs with a charity where if a child is in distress or whatever, the authorities, the first responders, have something to give to the child to make them feel better. It's just a great cause completely, whether it's police or fire or whoever. They have a way to calm a child down or give a child some happiness in a bad situation, which is very, very cool. So I love that there was a major donation towards that. I love the fact that the Black Bears fans brought so many there. I think there's going to be a big number announced on Monday for this. I want to say congratulations to Athens Rock Lobsters, who had over 7,000 teddy bears tossed on their event. They had a sellout crowd of 5,585, and they did over 7,000 bears. All the teams all across the North American hockey that do this, it's great. Hershey Bears usually get like thousands and thousands, like we're talking like 10, 20, 30,000s. It's one of my favorite games of the year because of the meaning and how it's handled. It's always a great thing, and I just thought it just looked great this year. I took some really cool pictures. I have some pictures I'm going to release throughout the week of the teddy bear toss. I've already posted a few with Nick Swain and a smile on his face and just how happy he was from this game, which we'll talk a little bit more in just a few minutes. But Taylor, one of the most important things that happened was on the second goal. You noticed something. You very much noticed something, and you wanted to immediately write about it in the Impact Players Report. Why don't you read that segment so we can talk about that a little bit more?
A moment that happened in the first period, well, actually, the moments after a goal during the first period, shows why screening a goalie and why having a guy get in those dirty, gritty spots is so important. During the first period and the first power play opportunity for the Black Bears, Gavin Yates does a great job skating into the zone where we see Captain Tyson Kirkby plant himself in front of Razar. After some beautiful passing from Yates and Stubbs, Jansen finds the back of the net on a power play. The reason I'm talking about Tyson Kirkby and all of this is after that goal was scored, Razar actually got the attention of a teammate and said, "Where did that go?" He then watched the replay up on the video boards. To have a netminder have to ask, "Where did it go?" shows just how important of a role players like Tyson Kirkby and Zach Sirota play, even when they aren't the ones getting goals.
It's so dead on. It's so important for all players, whether it's Austin Thompson in front of the net, whether it's Mac Jansen, who I've seen there, whether it's Zach Sirota, to do those things, to plant yourself in such a way that, yeah, you might actually get hit by the puck. That's going to hurt. You might, get hit in the back of the shoulders. Ask Austin Thompson. He saw the trainer a few times over the last couple of years about that. But getting those screens in place and doing it the right way will help your team score goals. And that's what Tyson does really, really, really well. He also, once there's a rebound in front of those screens and he can just turn his body around and then start whacking at it, is the reason why he scored 2 goals the night before. So what Taylor's writing about is hockey 101 for a forward who sits in front of the goaltender. And Tyson on both nights did that and got goals from it on Friday night, but then also on Saturday night helped other teammates get goals. It's an excellent observation. I am so glad that you brought it up because I really wanted you to, talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, it's, Razar, every time there's a goal, always takes his helmet off and, adjusts himself and puts it back on. And just watching him kind of have that conversation with his teammate, and then to watch him so focused on the replay that's up on the video board, he really had no idea how that goal got in, where it came from, what happened. And if you watch it back, Tyson doesn't do anything crazy.
No.
He doesn't even get right in front of Razar. He actually gets to the top of the crease and just plants himself there. He just stands right there. And then Trey DeLory actually blocks most of Razar trying to,
box
battle
out
Tyson.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because we have a picture of this, and that picture will be released later on, either tomorrow or on Tuesday, when I do the photo dumps, and people will see the picture. You wrote down in your phone, in your notepad, that play, not necessarily because of the goal, but because of what Tyson did. And I got a picture of it. It's pretty cool to think that we were both kind of seeing, and I mean, I'm just clicking pictures, so I just got lucky. I'll be honest with you. It's your astute, observation, seeing that. It was something I just wanted to bring up, because I don't think that we talk about that enough, that Tyson will score goals, and he's one of the best players in the league, not necessarily for goal scoring, but because of what he does in front of the net.
Yeah, the picture, it's so funny because, we captured the same moment for different reasons, and to have it kind of, to be able to look at it, and you can tell by just looking at the picture what's going on, and it's awesome. It really is.
All right.
I can't wait for the fans to see it.
Yeah. Scratches, Wyatt Freelander, Austin Thompson, Cam Cervone, and Jacob Shankar, who's still on the IR. Starters, Ivan Bondarenko, Tyson Kirkby, CJ Stubbs, Austin D'Orazio, Dan Stone, and Dominic Tumay. The teddy bear toss came flying down onto the ice at the 11:26 mark on the Black Bears' seventh shot of the game. There's way over 3,000 Bears. I would say maybe 4,000. Now that I think about it more, it could be 5,000 or 6,000. But the biggest amount of Bears I have seen here in the Black Bears years, all for a great cause. Because of the amount of Bears stoppage, I would say 15-ish minutes, right around there, maybe a little bit longer than that. Will that affect any of the play for either team? Before this, the Black Bears and the Hat Tricks were trading possessions in front of the opposing netminders. Great game for Nick Swain to get a couple goals. Last year, Cam Clark scored a hat trick on Teddy Bear Toss Night. Great period for the Black Bears, both Swain and Jansen with 2 goals. These are the starts to the games that we all know this team can do. Now, a strong second period is needed, and maybe a Swain hat trick. All right, I wrote that down before he got it. Power play opportunities, Binghamton was 1 for 1. Danbury was 1 for 2, a very rare time that the Black Bears give up a power play goal. And shots on goal, Binghamton 12 and Danbury 5. Let's go to the second period.
The second period with Nick Swain in the penalty box serving a 5-minute major penalty from D'Orazio's elbow on the Hat Tricks rubstoff. The Hat Tricks break up the Black Bears scoring streak with a Noah Robinson goal, 8:26 into the middle period. The Black Bears get the goal back with Nick Swain's hat trick goal at the 13:31 mark, making this a 5-1 game. Kyle Steffen scored his first goal of the season just 9 seconds after the Swain hat trick goal. Nick Swain was not done, repeating what Gavin Yates did, scoring his 4th goal of the game with 2:35 left to go in the middle period.
I got to be honest with you. I was really hoping he was going to get 5 in the third period, just because he had such a hot hand. Now, I think Gavin, it took all 3 periods to get his 4th goal. But Nick, I was like, all right, man, he's got a hot hand. Maybe he can get another one. And I think he had another chance, a really good chance in the third period to get one that Razar didn't save, because Razar was out of the game by then. I didn't mark this down in my notes, but I believe in the second period started Kyle Penton. He came in and was there. Now, there were pictures of Razar sitting in the corner where the backups normally sit. Taylor, did you notice him interacting with fans? Did fans interact with him at all?
I didn't really notice any fans interacting with him. There was a couple, a chant here or two. Not too many, not anything like horrible. He kind of laughed about a couple of things that were going on. I know he was talking to the red coat, Steve, because he had commented on, because I actually took a picture of Razar, and he had commented saying that he had spent, a good portion of the game talking to him, and actually said he's a very nice kid. So It's always nice to hear that, you take a goalie out of the game and he's still there and he's talking to people. He didn't look, he wasn't angry. He wasn't, doing anything weird or anything like that. He was just kind of enjoying himself over there in the corner. But yeah, nothing really crazy went on in that corner. Nothing was, said. I didn't really see anything bad.
All right. Well, we've talked about Rassar probably way too much than we should have over the last 2 weeks, but we'll probably talk about him next week as well. Second period notes, Austin D'Orazio was tagged with an elbowing major after tagging Anton Rubtsov, who was down on the ice for a little bit. Now, D'Orazio was given a major penalty and a game misconduct. It doesn't mean an automatic review for suspension. The game misconduct is the additional penalty. It's an additional punishment along with the 5 minutes of being on the penalty kill. But we will still see Tuesday or Wednesday if the league wants to suspend him for his actions. Now, Taylor, it was a clear elbowing to the upper body. I think the reason why that wasn't called a match penalty, which would be an automatic suspension or a review for suspension, is that I believe as he raised it, he kind of tucked the elbow in, maybe trying to avoid the collision. I think the referee saw that, and I think they properly called this penalty correct at least in my opinion, from going back and looking at it.
Yeah, at first because before I saw the replay, I thought it was just shoulder to shoulder contact. So I was very confused on what was happening. And then, after watching the replay, you can see it very, plain as day.
Yeah.
It definitely didn't look like it was something intentional or something, he was trying to do it on purpose.
To hurt the guy,
and,
right.
Yeah, it definitely didn't seem like that, any kind of intent. It was just kind of one of those fluky things where it happened and, you get tagged and you're like, all right, well, it happened.
Noah Robinson's goal was the only highlight for the hat tricks in the game. What a night for Nick Swain, who came into this game scoring only 2 goals and then basically tripled that. Now has 6 goals and repeated what Gavin Yates did last weekend against the Port Huron Prowlers. Now 3 players have 4 goals in a game for the Black Bears: Swain, Yates, and Connor Smith. The hat tricks are just outmatched tonight. They were. The Black Bears saved their best for the Teddy Bear toss night. Power play opportunities: Binghamton 0 for 0 and Danbury 0 for 2. Shots on goal: Binghamton 19, Danbury 9. A total of 31 for Binghamton and 14 for Danbury. Let's get into the third period.
Third period, just 4 minutes and 18 seconds into the third period, the Black Bears went up 8-1 with Jesse Anderson's second goal of the season. The Hat Tricks scored their second goal of the game off the stick of Jordan Crom at the 11:53 mark of the final period, making this an 8-2 game. Then Gregory Sosinski took one last shot at Binghamton netminder Dominic Tomei, scoring the Hat Tricks' third and final goal of the game with less than 1 second left on the clock, making this an 8-3 final as the Black Bears win their 19th game of the season and 10th in a row.
So much about this game. There are so many layers. Nick Swain was all smiles after the game, as he should be. He can score goals. There is talent there, and boy, did it shine on Saturday night. Congrats to Nick on the game. I think you and I both agree. We've talked about this off air with each other as we're talking about, what guys are on the bubble, what guys can stay, what guys cannot stay. And Nick Swain's name did come up because, let's be honest, in the first 10, maybe 12 games, he didn't impress all that much. And we're not knocking him. But when you're talking about who's going to stay, who's going to go, how are you going to fit this roster, you bring in all these all-star players, that were in the SPHL or the ECHL, and you're bringing them in. What do you do? What do you do? Who can go and stay? And Nick was one of those guys we talked about a little bit off air. But man, you put him with Kyle Steffen, who was on the ice for 2 of his goals. Gavin Yates was on the ice for 1 of the goals, and the kid can score. So it was just great to see. It was good to see him shine.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, we always talked about how it was kind of a slow start. And, as we mentioned, we have, if, Shankar comes back from the IR, that's something that's got to be done. Is something's going to have to happen. Either somebody else is going to go on the IR if there's an injury, or somebody's going to have to go.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where we're constantly talking about it and thinking about it. And, when you have a slow start and you're like, oh, well, he hasn't really done much compared to everybody else, but it's so hard because it's not saying anything bad against these guys. It's just, you have such an all-star team that, if you got one guy who scores 6 goals one game, and then you have guys that, it's been, 3 games and he hasn't gotten much. And it's one of those things where you start to notice stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then he just turns right around and he's proven a point, and he's here to stay is what I think he's trying to say.
Yeah. I agree. First game in a while where Dominic Thomé has given up more than 1 goal in a game. He went 4 games with only 1 goal. I will go back and rewatch all 3 of these goals, which I did, but I don't think the Black Bears are worried about those goals. However, I would not like to see one with 0.7 seconds left on the scoreboard, but that's just me. That's just because the next time you face them, which, oh, by the way, is next Friday and Saturday, they think they can score at any time against you. So if you're a team out there, who do you defend on this team? Okay, you shut down Tyson Kirkby, Gavin Yates, CJ Stubbs. So Nick Swain on the third line scores. Kyle Steffen on the third line scores. Mac Jansen scores 2. And another defenseman scores in Jesse Anderson. Last night, a close game that goes to OT and a shootout, and tonight a blowout. You just don't know you just don't know how they're going to win, but they do. It really does come down to that, Taylor, right? I mean, the simple fact is you don't know from one night to another. You can shut down the first line, and then on Saturday night, the second line and the third line score a combination of 7 goals.
Yeah, because, I mean, in all reality, if you could take any one of these guys and there's a high chance that anyone on this team could score. I mean, every game somebody's talking about, well, Laughlin's going to get his first goal. It's coming. Laughlin's got to get his first goal. Like, they're expecting these guys to go out there and score, and it's not usually something you expect of a defensiveman. But the way that he's playing, the way that he's, propelled through the games, it's like people are just waiting for it to happen. Mm-hmm. So even you could shut down all the forwards. Well, now you still have the defensive men. And Dan Stone has gotten goals. Jesse Anderson has gotten goals. Like, all of these guys on our team can get goals if needed. And it's just, I don't know how you could stop a team like this. I really don't.
I agree. All right. We already talked about the Durazo situation. We'll see what happens there on Tuesday or Wednesday if something comes out. Hopefully, I think nothing happens. I don't think anything is going to happen, but we'll see. Danbury could try to play politics and get him suspended for a game. The Black Bears win their 10th game in a row and play the same Danbury team next week at the arena for 2 more games. The power play opportunities, 0 for 1 for Binghamton in the third period, and Danbury did not have a chance. Shots on goal, Binghamton 9, Danbury 13. So Danbury did have more shots on goal in the third period. Totals, Binghamton 40 and Danbury 27. Now, just like we did last week, we've got all 4 goals that Brooks Hill called for Nick Swain.
Whiteout Friday night, ugly sweater night on Saturday. So Saturday, wear your best ugly sweater to the game. Swain fires and scores! Here they come! Nick Swain gets the teddy bear toss goal. Stretches the puck up to the red line. Now Swain comes back in looking for his second. Bounces around, knocked in! 3-0 Black Bears, Nick Swain, second of the night. And Swain steps out of the penalty box as the puck jumps up high into the air. Now Binghamton has 2 players looking for a hat trick on the ice. Bondarenko far side with Swain and Jansen. Over for Swain, fires and scores! Here come the Hats. Nick Swain gets a hat trick on Teddy Bear Toss Night. The second time he's made items rain down from the stands. Able to get the clear. Nice pass to Weber. Off the wall to Swain. Swain and Weber. Late developing 2-on-1. Swain cuts to the front of the net. Outweights and scores! 4 goals on the night for Nick Swain. Take a bow. Move over Gavin and Connor. There's a new name for 4 goals in a single night. The 3rd Black Bear in franchise history to do so.
All right, Nick Swain's 4 goals propels Black Bears past hat tricks 8-2. Get ready, because here's a lot of numbers coming your way. Nick Swain scored his 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th goals of the season for a huge 4-point night.
Yeah, I think it's nice that they're very fat and happy over there.
I was going to say that after the 8-2, and I didn't because I thought you would throw that in there at some point.
Oh, I should have there, but I did it after Nick Swain because, Chris Pollin's correct.
Yeah, I think it's nice that they're very fat and happy over there.
Okay, I'm done.
And getting fatter every game, apparently. Mac Jansen scored his 15th and 16th goals of the season, assisted on 2 goals for a 4-point night. Both Zach Sirota assisted on 2 goals for a 2-point night. Scott Ramakers assisted on 3 goals for a 3-point night. Kyle Steffen scored his first goal of the season and assisted on another for a 2-point night. Jesse Anderson scored his second goal of the season and assisted on another for a 2-point night. Dominic Tomei made saved 24 of 27 shots. For his 7th win of the season, the Black Bears winning streak improved to 10 straight. The Black Bears improved to 19-2-0 with 55 points and remain atop of the Empire Division.
Oh, it was a good night for the Black Bears. Obviously, great night for the community, getting all the teddy bears, and just an excellent run so far for the Black Bears. They got 2 more games against the Danbury Hat before they play 5 straight games against the Watertown Wolves, and we'll see what that series brings up. But 2 more games against the Hat Tricks this upcoming weekend at home versus the Hat Tricks. Can the Black Bears keep the winning streak going? Taylor, quick answer.
Well, it's not really that quick. I'm going to say yes, but they'd have to score at least 4 goals because the Hat Tricks seem to score 3 every time.
Yes, because that's the one stat we did not talk about yet, which was is it 5 games now? Wait, no. 4 games. All 4 games that the Hat Tricks and the Black Bears have played in Binghamton, the Hat Tricks have scored 3 goals in each one of them. That's 12 goals that they played. It's easy math now at this point to keep track of that. All right, so your answer is yes, but they have to score at least 4. Okay. Can the Hat Tricks slow down the Black Bears enough to squeak out a win?
No, I don't think so. I think it'd be very hard to try to I think they could slow them down, but slow them down enough to win, I don't think so.
Okay. Will the players on both sides get bored of playing against each other so much or sick of seeing the same opposing player on the ice that it starts to get ugly? Do we see that this upcoming weekend? Or do you think we've seen enough already to know that's not going to happen?
I don't think so. Just based off of how they've played each other so far. The game Friday night and Saturday night, perfect examples. Friday night was very different than Saturday night. And so I don't think it's getting boring on either side. And I don't see it happening, at least with Danbury. I'm not sure about Watertown. I think Watertown's a very different opponent than Danbury. I think Danbury, Danbury gives us a good run for different reasons.
Yeah.
I feel like they're a good competitor, but not in the sense of overly rough or, overly nothing bad has happened a lot with Danbury.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they get bored because I think the intensity of play is always there with Danbury.
Yeah. And with them losing Josh LaBelle, who I think was the one guy that probably could muck it up a little bit more so. They don't have Chase Harwell from last year. If you remember, Chase Harwell was one of the guys that could muck it up and kind of get a little dirty in his play. They just don't have that this year. And I think that, that's going to be lacking a little bit. All right. So the Power Play Post Show is available on all major platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, and YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on your favorite app, and don't forget to subscribe. Join the conversation on Facebook. Search for Power Play Post Show and become part of our community. Looking for everything Binghamton Hockey? Visit binghamtonhockey.net. Thank you to Rob Lapollis, our MC, John Petitucci, our musical director, of course, and Chris Pollin for this beautiful quote.
Yeah, I think it's nice that they're very fat and happy over there.
And from the Biloxi Breakers, broadcaster Devin Dobek, I am Bob Howard. She is
Taylor Welch.
And we'll talk to you next time right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.